I'm talking sweating. I'm talking getting a drink spilled on you. I'm talking that's pretty much the worst things that could happen to your makeup. Hi! So this is my start to finish tips, I guess you'd say, on how to make your makeup last a super long time. I'm talking a stupid long time. Like, I'm talking 12 plus hours. Like, you need to tailgate all day and still go out at night and look snatched. So if this is for a special occasion, I would highly recommend doing a trial run so you have a better idea of how everything's gonna sit on your face. Like, I always like to say there's no rules in makeup, but if there was one rule, it would be never try a product for the first time on a special occasion because you don't know how it's gonna work. I've learned that the hard way by wearing a new foundation on a first date, and by the end of the night the foundation was like flaking off my face and I ended up looking like a crusty armadillo. Okay, let's get into it. So it's super important to start out with really good skincare to prep your skin to make the perfect environment for makeup to stick to. You want to set your skin up for success. And the best way to do that is to cleanse really well to make sure you have no residue of anything on your face. And then I like to go in with my Ferrero? Is that like Ferrero Rocher, like the chocolate? No, Foreo little device to remove the dead skin, and it will prevent any patchiness. And I go in directly with a really hydrating face mask. This will allow hydration to go deep into your skin so you don't have to apply a whole lot of moisturizer over top of that. After I remove the mask, I really like to press in the excess serum that's still on your skin and really let that sink in, and then add a super light layer of moisturizer. In my experience, if you over moisturize your face, the foundation and all the products will just slip and slide all over your face and come off instead of really like sticking. And I would also say you want to limit the amount of serums or products just on your face in general to avoid buildup. And also sometimes serums react weird with foundations and it can start to pill and look really gross on your face. So I know you usually should be using the same type of primer and foundation. For example, you want to use a silicone primer with a silicone-based foundation, but silicone primers just clog my pores and make my skin look all congested. So I instead use a long wear primer with a long wear foundation. Even though it's silicone based, it's still just like, it works for me. In this case, I use the Milk Makeup Hydro Blur, I believe it's called. And that really does a really good job of making your skin tacky. The foundation will stick to it for a long period of time. Little hot tip, I avoid my nose and like this area around my mouth because obviously if I'm keeping my makeup on for 12 plus hours, I'm gonna be eating or talking and I'll get creases here. Because the primer works so well at being sticky, it makes the creases harder to wipe away, so it can look kind of bad. I like to focus the primer on my cheeks, forehead, and chin, if that makes sense. So my go-to foundation, if I want my makeup to last, is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear. It's perfect because it does really last a long time, but it doesn't feel really heavy on the skin. I used to use Estee Lauder Double Wear all the time, and that literally made me feel like I was painting a vat of just sludge all over my face because it's like really thick. So I like that the Fresh Wear is like relatively light for like a full coverage long wear foundation. As far as the actual application, after I let the primer sit and sink into my skin for about a minute or two, I like to apply my foundation with a brush first and then blend it out even more with a sponge. And I really do a good job of blending really well to press the foundation into your skin. As gross as that sounds, it'll really make it last the longest. And I do the same process with concealer. Also, when I want my makeup to look good for a long period of time, I actually don't put that much concealer on because concealer can really cake up your face and make your makeup look really heavy. So I just try to avoid the inner corner of my eye because that's where I get the most buildup. Onions have layers, cakes have layers, parfaits have layers, and your makeup should have layers if you want it to last and not look like an ogre, obviously. I'm talking layering your cream products with the same powder products. So I do this with cream bronzer, cream blush, and liquid highlight, or actually I think I used a stick highlight. Then I'll set my whole face with a damp sponge and some setting powder, and then I'll go directly back in with a powder bronzer, powder blush, and powder highlight. And I like to use stippling motions so I don't brush away any of the product we've just put on. I learned that from Patrick Ta. Not only will layering amplify your makeup, it'll also make it survive through whatever you put it through that day. I'm talking sweating, I'm talking getting a drink spilled on you, I'm talking that's pretty much the worst things that could happen to your makeup. For my eyebrows, I actually really like to use a pomade because I find it lasts the longest, but I only use it in the tail end of my brows, and then I still use a pencil on the inner part. And then of course set it with a clear brow gel because that's gonna be doing most of the hard work. I like to keep my eye look pretty simple if I want it to last a really long time, because if you go too crazy, it's just gonna like bleed. My lid's inevitably creased just because I have kind of a hooded eye, and so if I keep it neutral, it's easier to just kind of wipe away and it doesn't look as bad. Compared to if I had a heavy makeup look, you can't really fix it and touch it up as easily. Just avoid a smoky eye if you want your makeup to last all day, that's all I'm saying. For this, I actually used just the bronzer and blush that I applied before, and then a little bit of highlight on the brow bone and inner corner, just because I thought that was the most neutral looking, and it does a good job of making everything look cohesive. So I use the Stila All Day Stay in Place Waterproof Liquid Eyeliner. This is my tried and true. I actually use the brown. I switch between the brown and black depending on how I'm feeling, and I think the brown just looks a little less harsh. That's not the right word to use, but you get what I mean. And I usually throw this in my bag to do touch-ups, because if I do like cry or my eyes water for some reason, I can touch it up and it's not like bulky or anything, and it does a really good job. But it usually just stays in place all day. I've cried through this and it still stayed. I've woken up the next day and still had this on my eyes, so highly recommend this guy. I basically drench my face in setting spray, but I do it strategically. You want to spray and then with whatever you have to dry it, and then do another layer and then dry it, and that'll really lock everything in, and it'll really seal all those blood, sweat, and tears that you just poured into putting all that makeup on your face, and it feels good. So I actually don't like to use waterproof mascara because I've never had good luck with waterproof mascara. I love the Benefit Roller Lash so much because it stays without being a waterproof mascara. It does what I want, which is why I like it, and I use it every single day of my life. I do use other mascaras, I'll like switch it in and out, and I don't put mascara on my bottom lashes because it will run and then you'll look like a not cute trash panda, and nobody wants that. And then I usually keep a pretty neutral lip. I just used a lip liner. This was MAC Cultured, and then just some lip balm. I like to keep the lips neutral because it'll come off. Obviously, I'll be drinking or talking or whatever, and it doesn't look as bad as a longwear lipstick usually flakes off my lips and it doesn't look cute. So yeah. So touch-ups are your friend if you want to look good for a really long time, okay? I like to bring these things with me. I throw it in my purse for touch-ups. So the first most important are these NYX blotting papers. So I have dry skin, but I still get oily throughout the day, and these are really good. You just like, this is gonna look dumb, but you just like press them on and let it like absorb the oil. And then you throw them away. It doesn't really remove any of your makeup, it just removes the oils, so your face still looks pretty like airbrushed. I'll also usually put these in a little Ziploc, and this is the best powder for touching up because like for some reason it has magical powers that it can just like go over old makeup and it doesn't look bad. But I usually just apply this in my T-zone, which is where my makeup will run off the most and also where I get the most oily. Like I said before, I'll throw the eyeliner that I use in my bag just to do touch-ups, which I normally don't have to do anyways, but just in case. And I'll also bring a concealer. I obviously didn't use this before, but it matches my skin tone, and you just wash your hands, put your little fingy in, and touch up any places that could have rubbed off. And this also does a really good job of going over top of makeup without looking too cakey. So those are all my tips. I hope this helps you look your best on a day that you need to look really good for a really long time. And I'll see you later. Bye!